we'll do it this way. Hey, it's Writers Row. I'm David.
DC Wright-Hammer here.
And David Gane, I guess I should say the whole name, right? And I've already got my drink in my hand. You've got your drink in your hand.
Beverage.
So we have decided we are going to do this is going to be a test show, right? We're going to see if this works.
Yep.
Right? We're going to call it Writers Row. We're going to talk about the writing community, mostly through Twitter, but also the writing community abroad, right?
Yep.
And we're just going to talk about the writing community, things that are going on in the writing community, as well as talking about writing itself and the process and the business of writing, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think, independent authors, hybrid authors like yourself, it's a mystery. There's so many mysteries. You can get good at one part of it, and there's 80% of it that's still wide open. And so I think just the experiences we've had on Twitter and the subjects that have been touched upon, and they link to a website. Oh, I go here and I do this. There's just so much to unpack with the concept of being independent, with the concept of being a writer, being an author, and then also having to maintain some kind of social media presence and build the brand, so marketing versus advertising versus brand building. I think if we get into all of the facets, all the many hats we have to wear as writers, I think it'll be good for us, and hopefully other people get something out of it too. So
yeah, absolutely. So we thought we would start this episode talking a bit about Indie April, correct?
Yeah. For those that don't know, Indie April is a hashtag. It's a sort of a campaign going on Twitter for the whole month of April, where you spotlight, you do a lot of buy threads, book buying. Everyone gets to post their link, and somebody offers to buy 2 or 3 of the books. And then other support tweets have gone out. And so that's kind of a little bit of background. I think it was started by one individual, I believe, and then it just kind of snowballed into the hashtag kind of trending, kind of taking its own after a while. And I've seen it on a lot of random tweets that aren't necessarily related to writing, Indie April. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
What do you mean? Like, had absolutely zero writing? It's like,
yeah, I think I think it was like something about music, independent music artists, and
I've
then
gotten a couple of invites to movies and stuff like that, so maybe that's a part of that as well.
and it's not specific, obviously. It's not like indie authors, it's Indie April. And so people hit the hashtag button, they see what's trending, they grab the next one and go with it. So could be
But
anything.
it is Indie April is originally focused around books, correct?
Yep, that's my understanding.
Okay.
I saw that just before it was like March 30th or something like that. Someone had started it and they declared April Indie Author Month. And here we are.
Oh, so this is the first year ever.
As far as I know.
Okay.
It would be
Okay.
also my first April being active on Twitter, so I can't speak a whole lot to it, but yeah, that's the way it seemed like. A person said, "Hey, we need to do this because indie authors need our support, so I'm declaring Indie April," and that thread blew up because I remember seeing that one, and then there was about 4 or 5 more from that same individual, kind of propping it up, from what I saw again, and then it's kind of taken a life of its own since then.
So, you were talking about it as some people are doing like using Indie April to buy a bunch of books, but that was happening before Indie April as well, though, right?
I would definitely say I've seen an uptick. As before, you'd find 1 or 2 or 3 of those throughout the week.
Yeah.
And it's pretty constant. I've seen probably a book buy thread, 2 or 3 a day.
Really, from different people.
Yep, from different people with the hashtag Indie April on there. And a lot of people, to some extent, I've seen a lot of people, because I do keep track of some metrics just to keep an eye on who I'm following and what's happening. And so I'll see a lot of people who are newer to Twitter, and it almost seems like they're using it as a way to kind of introduce themselves and build some kind of credibility. Hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to use this hashtag, I'm going to buy 3 or 4 books,
Yeah.
and I want to spread my name. And I think that's interesting. I think it's actually very effective, especially if they actually follow through with buying the books.
Yeah.
That wasn't something that was available to me 8 or 10 months ago when I started getting active in Twitter. It's not something I thought was accessible to me, something like that. So I thought that was interesting that people started using it that way.
Okay, I'm going to take a total side diversion here for us. Has your way of using Twitter when you first came in, because you started being much more active around what month, what year?
July. Beginning of July of 2018.
2018, and I came on, like, I'm hitting my 10-year. Oh, I hit my 10-year a couple of days ago, I guess, or yesterday.
Sure.
But I really wasn't active at all, especially in the writing community, until January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Has your way of using it and introducing yourself to people changed since that first time?
Absolutely.
How did you start?
I started. I was wrapping up doing edits for my second book, and I pulled my editor aside on the phone, not physically, and I said, I need to start marketing. I need to figure out how to get the name of my book, the cover of my book, into strangers' hands so they can make a decision on if they think it's interesting and ultimately, hopefully, make a purchase. She asked me about Twitter. I said I created an account like when I first, 2017, when I started to do my first book. I created a bunch of accounts in a bunch of places because I guess that's what you were supposed to do. And so I did it. But I didn't know how to Twitter back then. It was sort of a foreign concept to me. I kind of got the idea, but it was much different from Facebook, which I had used in my personal life for 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years, basically. So I got on, and I was really just, I was kind of trying to feel things out, and I figured out the writing community was a thing. That it was like there was like etiquette and rules. They didn't like
There's rules. There's etiquette.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
They don't like spammers. They don't like people who just post their book over and over. Some people take it to extreme, never post your book. Others say, yeah, go ahead, it's fine. You could do it more often. So there's some etiquette there. I think the following, unfollowing, that's a debate that rages on until today.
I still don't understand that.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain it really quickly for someone who has no clue?
Yeah. So on Twitter, you can gain followers if someone clicks on your page, clicks the follow button, and then you can follow them back. It's sort of, some people consider it one for one, or hey, we should always help each other out. Let's follow back. Let's have each other. And what that does is it puts those people's tweets in your timeline, and basically your feed of all the tweets that are out there, they're going to be added to that list. And so you'll get people, there's a lot of people that use Twitter in various ways. And I'll preface this by saying, and I've actually said this in a tweet, anybody can use Twitter how they see fit.
Yep.
Anybody can then judge someone based on how that other person uses Twitter, and the person who is using Twitter can decide whether they care about that judgment or not. And so what I mean by that is, me personally, I try to follow back as many writers as I can. So if I see writing in their bio, if I see generally a decent number of tweets, they don't look like a bot, essentially.
Okay.
They weren't created last month or this month, and they generally seem like, a real person. I follow back. I just.
Will you follow everyone back that way?
I try to. I miss people. If you look at my follower count now, I'm off by 3,000. So there's something, I'm either missing a ton of people or there's 3,000 bots following me.
Okay.
But in general, that's my goal. And occasionally I call myself out. I try to keep myself honest. So that's the way I kind of use it. I try to do follow for follow unless I think they're a bot, or sometimes I'll get like business management people following me. I'll get Herbalife people trying to sell me like, pyramid scheme, like all these kinds of things. And I'm like,
and you don't follow those?
No.
Okay.
So it's all there. I have no bots or anything. I have no like technology doing this for me. It's me trying to peruse through them, checking my follows. I do actually have a tool that tells me who unfollowed me just so I can keep an eye on it, because the other type of people that are out there are people who are trying to skew. Not everybody who has really low follower, they're following very few people and really high followers. Not everybody does this, but some people do, where they'll follow someone, get the follow back, and then quickly unfollow them.
And that's just so they have more followers.
More followers in comparison to how many they're following. They want that ratio to look like they're super popular and they're not following very many people. If you look at a lot of celebrities, though, that's their ratio, to the point where like the president has millions of followers and he's only following the United States president, that is. He's only following 54 people.
Okay.
And then I always get curious. I'm like, who are those 54 people? Like, I gotta, like, if you're only following that few, who are the special people that you're like, oh, I'm gonna click that follow button?
Yeah.
But in the writing community, you do see that. You see people who have a 5-to-1 ratio or a 10-to-1 ratio, where they're following 200, but they have 1,000. They're following 2,000, but have 10,000. That's another way to use it. If that's the way they see fit, that's kind of how they do it. And then you have people who just follow everybody. And I've seen that too, where they're following 20,000 people and they have 15,000 followers, and so you kind of get, and so it's interesting in the writing community, because I don't know what there is to gain from having low follow. Like, I'm following fewer people and I'm being followed by so many.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's perceived as if they retweet my stuff, it's going to thousands of people. That person they're becoming a mini influencer. And for people who don't know what influencers are, I don't even know exactly. From my knowledge, it's people who have a lot of following on social media, and potentially they have affiliates and things like that who will pay them money to share things to their followers, because they have such a large number of hopefully legitimate followers. And so there you go. Okay. So I'll stop there and even give you a chance to respond. And
you know what? We should have just turned it into the DC show, right?
That's all right. No one would watch that.
No, I agree with it. The only thing the one thought I had was, I actually don't follow for follow or whatever it is. I usually will take recommendations from other people that I follow, right? If I see them pop up and say, oh, I follow these people, I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I like you, so I'll check out these people that you're following, which doesn't make me maybe as friendly or as easygoing, but I also find that I really am looking for, I like the back and forth with people, right? So if you're just following me, but then we don't get into that conversation, then that's kind of what I go to Twitter for. So I guess I'm just looking for that connection a bit more. So so let's take another step back then. We were talking about all the different rules of etiquette, right? And then I kind of derailed us, because I was asking you about how your approach has changed. So what was it you were doing originally, and then when did you kind of fall into the groove?
So the way my editor had phrased it, she said, "You need to get more tweets. You need to get your tweet count up." I said, "Okay, that's an interesting way of putting it." And I'm like, it seemed obvious to get my follower count up, but
Yeah.
she was emphasizing get more tweets out there, establish yourself as someone who tweets often. And she did mention, she's like, self-promotional fine, but you want to mix in real life tweets, and you want to mix in, maybe you share articles, or maybe you share something else. And so I started to just tweet random article. Like, I tried to make them writing focused or science focused or science fiction type focused. And so I would just kind of do that. I actually had a scheduler who would, I would pick the articles myself, but then it would schedule them out to post at certain times. And like, I'm
What were
like,
you using for that?
Crowdfire app, I think is what it's
Okay, which is now I think it's back online again, right?
not with full functionality
Oh,
because
it isn't.
apparently Twitter's taking away some access from
Yeah.
certain people. But yeah, I was using that just to schedule posts to just get things out there. Um, and that was not very effective. I can honestly say, um, it sparked some conversation here or there, but really it was engaging. It was, the way I put it, spend less time on your notifications button and more time on your home button. So if you're looking at Twitter on a desktop or on a laptop and you've got the browser open,
Yeah.
don't worry as much about, oh, I've got to keep up with all these notifications. That's fine. And especially in Follow Back Friday, you do have to keep up with those notifications. That's a first world problem. I am not complaining. Um, but um, spending time there, you're missing out on what's actually happening in your feed.
Yes.
And you're missing out on all the people who are sharing cool writing stuff. They're sharing personal stuff and just general, what people expect you to see, when you're using social media. It's not all about you. It's not all about what's coming your way. It's about what are other people doing and how can you engage them. That's where I actually saw, there were, perceived cliques, perceived groups that I just started to admire. I'm like, wow, they seem like they really get along. They seem like they know each other. They're talking about each other's books. They're really interesting, cool looking books, things that I want to read and talk about. And so I just started engaging, and my cat's really excited about their
I
books
know,
too.
I can hear him.
Uh, so so
He's
that's when
like,
I
yep,
started
okay.
right. That's when I started to realize that what I was doing was very mechanical, very like going through the motions, and I
Yep.
wasn't really offering much to Twitter as a whole, but the writing community specifically. And so you kind of have to put yourself out there, and that's what I started to do a little more.
Nice. Uh, See, I tend to do a lot of maintenance on notifications. I don't do as much on home as I probably should. And every time I go on, I'm always kind of I usually when I go to home and I start going through the feed, it's always like DC's been there already before.
Sorry.
It's okay. Actually, I've never see, I'm always impressed with a lot of you guys because you seem to be able to manage both the notifications and the home button at the same time. And I when I first started kind of getting into it, I'm like, how do you guys keep up with all this? And
Yeah,
I don't know. I
right.
assume you have about three windows open and you're just cycling through all three at the same time. Um, because for me, I only have a certain amount and then I shut down or else I'm not engaging with it, right?
Right.
It's become skimming rather than actually getting the information out of it. So
I'm waiting for her to come over here, but she's.
you know what?
I spilled my drink. Anyway, I'm such a lush. Anyway.
Okay, so yeah, so I think though that I think that's actually the one thing that always fascinates me is how do people manage their Twitter? How much time do people put in? How are they managing all of the stuff that's going on. And for me, a long time ago, sorry, long time ago, I got rid of that kind of fear of missing out, and I don't try and catch everything, and I know a lot of people, like, I know I'm missing a lot of stuff, and um when I get dragged into something, into notifications, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going on. But usually it's just I try and do a little bit, and then I go off and do whatever else in the real world. So
Yeah, it's interesting because I think you have one of the fastest gift fingers in the West. I swear, like I will be part of a thread with you, and I'm like, man, I should reply to that, and before I can, like you're 2 or 3 gifts deep, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, and they're all relevant, so I know you're selecting them yourself.
you know what though? The funny thing is that I don't think I'm the fastest one. I know who's the fastest one.
Well, we both know who the fastest one is. She's not
And
on this.
she better be watching this.
She will. If she doesn't watch this,
We'll give her a hard time.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so, anyways, we totally derailed our discussion about Indie April, and I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
I do find there has been that discussion though that you brought up, that some people have said, what happens once Indie April's done?
Yep.
Where does it go? I personally, I like the idea that by doing these kind of months, it tends to I always find that the writing community does tend to bring itself together really, really well and support each other really well. So I don't think that's really going to go away. It's more just, maybe we just need a kick in the butt in October or something like that for another kind of boost like this.
Yeah, I think I mean it's skepticism, and I think to some extent there should always be a healthy amount of that. That what is this new fad and how does it fit in the big picture? I'm okay with those conversations. I'm okay with people taking issue with opportunists and people that might come in, swoop in, drop their book on a ton of threads, never buy anything, we never hear from them again. Giving the spammers an outlet, I suppose.
That's
But
going to happen anyways.
I was going to say that they're doing that already. Yeah, they're getting an opportunity to do it in more places, maybe. But I think people who otherwise don't have an opportunity to self-promote in this way are getting retweeted hundreds and in some case thousands of time across multiple different threads. And maybe they get only one purchase, or maybe they get no purchase, but now people know what their book cover looks like. I think if anything I've learned as an indie author is that it's slow, hard work. And I think any bit of exposure is better than none. And as long as, you're trying to be honest and whatnot. I mean, the spammers, they tend to expose themselves because you start to see them across, all this, and then you look at their timeline and that's all they're doing, or their feed or whatever you call it on Twitter. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm fine with the skepticism. I'm fine with Indie April. I'm fine. And what will happen on May 1st, I think we'll find out. I think some of it will spill over. There might be Indie May. Someone's going to throw it out there. I will not be surprised. But I mean, we'll see. I think in general, the writing community is good at policing its own.
Yeah.
And if things go back to the way they were in March, that's fine. If there's more buzz, that's fine. I can't imagine there's going to be any negative fallout from Indie April, other than it might be demoralizing for someone who got extra sales during the month and then suddenly it drops off in May. But that's explainable, and that's something that something people can expect. I don't know. So I think I'm fine with all of it, and it's not surprising to me that there's some cynics out there who are like, who gives a damn about Indie April? What about all the other months?
Because we have other things for every month. We just have to market towards them, right? So that's what I'm going to say. I don't know if it's legitimate or not.
And I've been meaning to write a blog about how you always have to have that next thing up as an indie author, like whether it's an interview, whether it's a book promotion, whether it's you're actually going to do some advertising on like Facebook or Amazon or something like that. You need to have things going on all the time. Obviously, not too much to overwhelm you, but that next thing. And I think what I've learned more than anything through Indie April, but before and what I'm going to do after, is just remain relevant. Have the exposure, occasionally post about your book and maybe post a link here or there.
Yeah.
But push other people's work as well, and do things that are sincere and genuine, supporting others. And you tend to get a little more slack when you want to do your own self-promotional stuff. For instance, I run an indie spotlight on my website, Indie Author Spotlight, and
what is that website?
hammerstonecreative.com.
Good.
You can see the Indie Author Spotlight. Over the last 7 months, I've spotlighted 25 independent authors, which is really cool. I didn't realize. I thought about that today, and that's like a lot.
Yes, that is
one
a
a
lot.
one a week for 25 weeks, 26 weeks, and I took a week off in there somewhere. And I plan on taking a couple weeks off, reformulating it, circling back, and then doing it again for another 12 or 13 weeks. 3 months is usually how long I do it, but doing things like that. We have a friend who does design work. She'll surprise us with design work on Twitter, and then she drops her book. And sometimes her book seems like an afterthought, and it's up to us, the people that she helps with her design work, to always remember to go back and promote her stuff, because she's doing it out of the kindness of her own heart, because she's a good person and she genuinely likes us. And so those kinds of things.
Well, I hope she likes us. I don't know. Sometimes I worry.
Really? Come on now. That's
joking.
Like little brothers and little sisters. She loves us.
Yes.
And gives us noogies.
I was just joking.
Exactly. So I don't know. That's what it is. Indie April is a microcosm. It is a microcosm of the writing community as a whole. It's good, it's bad, there's some in between, and it is what it is.
Cool. I think you totally wrapped it up right there. Put a pin in it.
Stick a fork in it.
Stick a fork in it. Okay. So, yeah, and we don't want to drag this out and drive people crazy. So, you said it once, but I want you to say it again. Where can people get a hold of you and find you and discover you?
DC Wright-Hammer 2 on Twitter. Follow me there for sure. Active all the time. Hammerstone Creative is the publishing company I came up with. So hammerstonecreative.com is the website. And then I will flip it on Mr. Gane. Where can people find you? And
but wait. What's the name of your book?
Oh, the name of my book is Between Two Minds Awakening. That's in reverse. That probably doesn't help.
And no, it's good. It made sense for me. So
got it. Between Two Minds, the series, sci-fi thrillers. I write things sometimes. So there you go.
You do. And you can get a hold of me at www.cunosandgane.com. I don't have. Let me grab my book quickly so you can figure out how to spell Cunos.
Oh, that is
Counios. That's our book. We have 3 books, young adult murder mysteries. And you can find our books there. You can buy DC's first book at cunosandgane.com, as well as t-shirts, stickers, and other writers' books. And I'm on Twitter at David Gane. Correct is my handle? I don't even know my own handle.
There's no question mark after that. It's just David Gane.
That's the way it usually works for me. It's all a question mark, everything I do.
That concludes the first episode of Writers Row. And thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye.